Who do you think is a better cricketer, Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli? But when do you think RCB are going to win their first IPL title? Hello everyone, my name is Shayunto and welcome to the first episode of SporTank Originals. And this is a podcast where we try to have some meaningful and insightful conversations with sporting personalities. And trust me guys, there was no better person than whom I could have started off this podcast than somebody who has inspired me a lot in the past 1 year. Somebody who is an exemplary leader, somebody who has already made a mark in the sporting industry, and somebody who is a top-notch sports journalist. And thank you so much, Vedant sir, for coming in our show today. It's an absolute pleasure and an absolute honor to have you.
Thank you so much for those high words of praise. Not sure that I deserve all of it, but thank you so much, Shantan, and looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, sir. It's an absolute pleasure. So tell me, how are you exactly doing right now?
Pretty well actually, because the lockdown and everything is not there at the moment. Everything is eased down a little, so just back on track. Looking forward to IPL and World Cup to come, and of course that great Olympics. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think everyone's still basking in the euphoria of the Olympics. We recently had the best campaign of our Indian contingent. We got 7 medals. So, how was your experience like in the Olympics?
Well, absolutely sensational to be very honest, because we did not expect the kind of show we got at Tokyo, because a lot of stars which actually came forward on in expressing themselves and the way they expressed to eventually win those medals, it has been just sensational to watch. And I hope that that vibe of other sports
Yeah.
that still remains for the remainder 3 years as we go for Tokyo Olympics in 2024. So really looking forward to it. I'm really glad that a lot of media houses actually came forward covering other sports to a level where it is actually getting light. And the best part is, I read it somewhere that people were watching Neeraj Chopra a little more than India versus England. That actually shows what the sport is actually bringing, and that actually shows that we are driving towards the other sports, and that is absolutely needed at the moment if we want that other sports to rise and the bridge between cricket and other sports to come down to as small as possible.
Exactly, sir. I feel that the entire landscape and the way we actually look at the sporting fraternity has changed, especially. And I saw that in SportsTiger. For those of you who do not know, Vedant sir is the head of product and operations of SportsTiger. I'm going to touch upon SportsTiger, but then I wanted to ask you, sir. I mean, I was seeing a lot of extensive coverage of SportsTiger. So until before the Olympics, I used to think that okay, it was mostly fixated into cricket and football. So right now, you feel that you guys are going to touch upon the other sports as well, considering that so many new foundings have been found out from this part of the Olympics.
Well, absolutely, because we realized when we were at the start of the Olympics that we need to give coverage as much as possible, not only in terms of the traffic which Sports Tiger would generate, but as many readers will who will be coming to our platform, not only in terms of the web traffic or the app traffic, but at the same time the people who are following us on the social media platforms as well. So the idea was to educate as many people as possible, as many users as possible, and I'm glad that people responded well, and that gave us a little more confidence to cover other sports. And then when our stars started to perform, from Mirabai Chanu to Manika Batra to of course PV Sindhu, and then the end of course Deepak Punia, and who not, Neeraj Chopra, everybody performed, including Bajrang Punia. So I think the athletes helped us to actually cover in the
Yeah.
extensive way that we did.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that what you said, that the athletes are actually the backbone of any sports media house. And I was actually closely following Sports Tiger during the Olympics. I was waiting for your overall updates at the end of the day, overall performance update. But talking about Sports Tiger, sir, the other day I was talking to a friend and I told that friend that, okay, I have Sportskira downloaded, I have ESPN, I have Crickbuzz, I have Sports Tiger downloaded. But the one application that has given us an overall extensive coverage and rapid news. I mean, more than Crickbuzz, more than Sportskira, I feel that I got the news first from Sports Tiger. So I wanted to know how exactly things panned out for Sports Tiger in the beginning. I think 2020 you guys started. So what was the idea behind actually starting Sports Tiger? Did you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, start something of your own, and how did everything pan out for you?
So we started in the month of February 2020, and Shanthan, to be very honest, this was something which was in my mind for a couple of years, and I'm glad that I got founders like Sanjeet Syag and Vineet Godara who ended up believing not only in the product but also in me, where they gave me an opportunity to express myself, and that's where we actually thought of bringing something like Sports Tiger, because there are a lot of products which are focusing on a certain product. So, for example, if there is a cricket sport, then there are a lot of media houses which are covering cricket. When it comes to tennis, then there are many, and then when it comes to football, there are a couple of media houses as well. But to have everything on one platform, not many media houses come into picture. So that was the idea. We started with the application in the month of February, and the idea was more towards what best can be done, so that a lot of users who have downloaded, as you said, they've downloaded this application, that application, they can be pretty much centric towards one, where they get live scores, news, podcasts, videos, fantasy tips, and career stats, anything and everything which a user can think of. So that's the idea of the product, and that's where we started. We are glad that we ended up getting that response in the first few months, and then we eventually ended up building on that. And to be very honest, no product is ready on day zero. There are a lot
Of
of
course.
things which eventually evolve as you go with the product, and that's exactly what we ended up doing. On the first day, the idea was to do short news, the idea was to do live score as much as possible. But then as we grew with the product, we realized that the requirement is of the website as well, the requirement is of doing some live shows as well, and that's how we ended up building the product. So as you said, always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Glad got somebody who believed in me, and glad that we've worked with a great team who expressed themselves to a level that we have been able to achieve some targets in the initial phase.
In fact, you're doing your MBA also right now from IIM Kozhikode. So I think that is going to help you a lot, and that's going to reflect in the decisions you take in Sports Tiger. But talking about Sports Tiger, I feel that this is an amalgamation, like you said. Like right now, the Olympics was happening. Those of you who were following Crickbuzz, it's only cricket. So they had to constantly toggle from one application to another. But for some application like Sports Tiger, like I used to follow Sports Tiger a lot, even before, the Olympics. And I realized that, okay, I don't need to go to other applications, and this is where I can get everything. And I think that's the one thing which will actually help in, Sports Tiger taking off. And also talking about the Instagram page, I remember before IPL 2021, y'all had 10K followers, and then right now you all have 70 to 80K followers. So that speaks volumes of how much of an upward trajectory Sports Tiger has gotten into. But coming to you, Vedant sir, I mean, a lot of people come and ask me, ki, how do they make it big in the journalism world? All right. So they keep on asking me, ki, I come from different background. People, my friends from the law background, my friends from the economic background, they ask me, but I never had to face this because currently I'm pursuing my undergraduation in mass comm. But you are somebody who has, done their economics honors from St. Xavier's University, and then you switch to journalism. So was this, switch, was this actual transition smooth, or did you face some difficulties? So how was it about?
So, to be very honest with you, economics happened to me by luck, and sports happened to me by birth. So,
Okay.
I never wanted to do economic honors, to be very honest. When I passed out in 12th standard, my father had promised me that I will be going out of Jaipur, probably studying in universities of Delhi or universities in Mumbai. But the situation panned out like that I did not go to Delhi or Mumbai. I ended up studying in Jaipur. By the time I applied for colleges in Jaipur, it was quite late, and there were only two courses which were available. One was economic honors, and the other one was
Okay.
English honors. My English wasn't that good, so I thought of applying in economic honors, and that's how economic actually happened to me. By the end of 2017, I realized, that was my third year, I realized that economics is not something I can make my career in. And that's where I was sitting with my father and watching India versus Australia test match. And we both were watching that game, and my father was like, what do you think, what will happen on the next delivery? And I still remember Steve Smith was on strike. It was Pune test, and I just said that it will go away from the right hander. And that actually happened. And my father was like, if you can predict that, how about you end up writing? So I was like, me and writing, because a few years back I did not take English honors just because I thought that I cannot write and speak. So
Right.
just because my father said that if you will be able to write something, I will try to get it published on some media platform, be
Hmm.
it a print or a digital. So I got very
Okay.
influenced. For example, if my writing is getting published on a media house, then there is nothing better. So I invested 1.5 days to write a match report. And you
Hmm.
being in this field already, you know that 1.5 days is a lot of time to write a match
A
report.
lot of time.
And no media house accepted it. Everybody was
Hmm.
like, firstly, it wasn't up to the mark, and second of all, it
Hmm.
was way too late. And that's when I realized that if I will take 1.5 days to write one match report, I will never be able to be in this field. So I came back home, I cribbed that I told you that this is not something which is for me. So what I did was, Shantan, what I want to make a point, because a lot of people end up asking you as well. I did not let that just be saved as draft in my laptop. I took that match report and I posted it on my Facebook profile. Now, many would say having just 400, 500 friends on Facebook, how many actually see that post? But trust me, you just need one. You just need one person who believes in you to see that post. And I was glad that one Ankit Mishra, who was with Cricket Tracker then, he ended up seeing that. He was like, you have potential. Your writing is not up to the mark, but if you keep on working, this can be something that you can focus on. So he gave me an opportunity, and that's how my journey actually started. Now, speaking about how people can come into it, there's just two things which you require. One, believe in yourself. Because if you believe that you are better than people who are already in the sports journalism segment, you can perform better than them. And second of all, be passionate about whatever you do in life. Because if you are passionate, if you know that this is what the demand is, if you can wake up at 5 o'clock to watch a game in New Zealand, and if you can stay back to watch a game at 1 p.m. at night, 1 a.m. at night, this is the field for you. And I think that should be the approach for anybody and everybody as their field.
Absolutely, that's a very heartwarming story. So, the takeaways from this part of the segment, I feel, is that belief and passion for that particular sport or for that particular profession is very important. And I am really glad you actually watched that game, India versus Australia, with Uncle. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ever got such a good mentor, such a good boss. We wouldn't have got such a good sports journalist. So, I'm extremely glad that you got that. But then, thank you for that insight, sir. I really cherished that particular conversation. But I wanted to ask you about your experience during the IPL. Okay, so 2 3 years you've been working with the IPL as a journalist, and I'm sure it's a very amusing experience, a very heartwarming experience for you. And you've been to the press box. I was checking out your Instagram profile that day, and you've been to the press box. So I wanted to ask you. You've also worked for News Nation. So I wanted to ask you. You went to the press box as a journalist of News Nation.
Yes, yes. I ended up
Okay.
going to the press box from News Nation. Before that, I was working with Rajasthan Royals as the assistant manager in operations. So when you are in operations profile, I used to see everything except for press box. But finally, when I was
Hmm.
working with News Nation, I got an opportunity to go there and be and just express myself and sit there at the press box.
So, how was your experience like? I mean, if you could like sum it up
Surreal.
in some
I will
words.
tell you. So for the
Yeah.
first time when I went to the press box, I didn't know where to actually go, because when you will
Okay.
enter the press box for the first time, it is actually divided into two segments. One is for the journalists and the second one is for the commentators. And it's on
Hmm.
the right and the left side. They both are attached.
Hmm.
Now, what happens is, as you will enter, you will also meet somebody like Sanjay Manjrekar. You will also meet someone like Harsha Bhogle. And once you are entering that press box, your nerves should be calmed down, your heartbeat should not be
Yeah.
up. And
All
because
right.
once you see those people who you have seen on the television, you actually forget why you have come. And that was my first experience, because for a couple of minutes I was like, where am I? And then I realized that this is where I always wanted to be, to sit at the press box, because in press box you will not hear that spectators cheering
Hmm.
for their respective teams. You will not hear anything else. Even the televisions are muted. You can just see the games which are going on, but there will be no volume, there will be nothing. You just see the game and you see it from a very different eye. And I am glad that I was given an opportunity by News Nation, because if I wasn't given that opportunity, I would have never seen how to see that game from a journalist eye. Because when you see with your family, when you see with your friends, you see it more for fours and sixes and for the wickets.
Hmm.
When you go out there, you actually get to know which player is standing where, what are the tactics which are happening, which you are not able to see when the advertisement is on. So there is no
Right.
break in between. When you are in press box, you
Hmm.
are able to see anything and everything which is happening.
Everything.
And that's
Hmm.
where I actually realized why it is important to be in the press box, and what all it ends up giving you, because you are able to interact with so many commentators as well. So overall, it has been a surreal experience, and I've totally loved it.
Thank you for that amazing account, sir. But I feel that what you said, it's very important to keep your fandom out of actually your professionalism. And like we are always looking at the glitz and glamour when we are in our house, watching it with our family and friends. But over there, it's a completely different viewpoint because you have to be a journalist over there. You have to you have to look at the intricacies of the sport and you have to analyze the game accordingly. So I really hope that once this pandemic actually boils down, once this pandemic goes, even I get the opportunity of going once and thank you.
Absolutely.
But then
Not
talking
once,
about
I think
the
you'll go 100 times, you'll go 1,000 times.
thank you, sir. That means a lot. Thank you. Hope to do that. So, but then talking about the pandemic, I feel that, the impact and the implications of this pandemic has been severe. Everybody, I mean, not just the sports industry, every particular industry has been affected by it. I think sports also has been to quite some extent, but a lot of people have a lot of learnings from this pandemic. So I wanted to ask you, sir. I mean, this does not have to be from a sporting viewpoint, but what has this pandemic, what has this, last couple of years, 1.5 years, taught you as a person?
Taught me as a person, I think, to respect time. That's one. Second,
Okay.
discipline in life. How important it is to plan your future. And the most important aspect is, sometimes we let go things like, okay, I'll spend time with my family tomorrow, I'll spend
Right.
time with my loved ones day after, let's concentrate on something else. With this COVID coming, you actually realize that you might not be having those many days to actually cherish. And second of all, if you are not planned for your future, and there are a couple of things which actually come into place, like for example an emergency, and if you don't have sufficient financial if you have a burden or the funds are missing, so that will be a big struck on you. So these are the couple of things that I learned. And then, of course, take one day at a time, live one day at a time, and enjoy as much as possible.
Absolutely. I feel that, I completely second your views. I completely agree with them. And, having insurances is very important during these testing times. And I'm really glad that a lot of people have been doing this because, as you said, that time is very fickle. One day you're meeting a person, you never know what's going to happen to that person the very next day. It's very important to have these in place. And thank you. Thank you for those views, sir. Now, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Indian cricket in general. Right now we're not going through the exact transition phase. I feel after a couple of years we're going to have that transition phase.
Yeah.
There is Virat Kohli, there's Rohit Sharma, two doyens of this Indian cricket team right now. Two of them have left their mark. But one day there will be a time, I know a lot of fans will be crestfallen, but Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, they have to hang up their boots. And there'll be a new generation of cricketers coming. So what do you look at the next generation as? Do you feel that somebody like Shubman Gill, somebody like Prithvi Shaw, somebody like Abhimanyu Ishwaram, they can actually fill up the void, which will be, I'm pretty sure it'll be a void. I know it's a heavy statement, but I am 120% sure it'll be a void when Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli leave. So you feel that the next generation of cricketers is also as talented and accomplished as our current generation?
Well, I'm glad that this question actually comes every time we speak about the generation which is about to go. Because if you
Yeah.
remember, we used to say the same thing when Kapil Dev and Sunil Gavaskar went. We used to say the same thing
Hmm.
when the four players who had made a mark, be it Virender Sehwag, Sachin Tendulkar, Saurabh Ganguly, Rahul Dravid, and even VVS Lakshman for that matter of fact. When
Hmm.
they left, we didn't know who will be the next Sachin Tendulkar, who will be the next Rahul Dravid. But we are glad that we were able to see those Rahul Dravids and Sachin Tendulkars. And to be very honest, there will be replacement for them as well. I think there is one song which is MS Dhoni's favorite, and that is a very very important song in someone's life, and that actually will help one to understand why people will come and people will go. द पल दो पल का शायर हूँ, पल दो पल की जवानी है, वो बिल्कुल सही
Yeah.
गाना है. That song is absolutely on point because people will go and
Hmm.
new generation will fill up the shoes. Because if you see, we have already seen the glimpse in India versus Sri Lanka series. With COVID
Hmm.
coming, we were able to see this segment as well. A lot of
Hmm.
stars like Surya Kumar Yadav, who were doing so well in the domestic circuit, we were never able to see somebody like Surya Kumar Yadav. How many years does Surya Kumar Yadav has? He has maximum of 3 4 years on his hand.
Hmm.
Only when he is able to prove himself. Then we have Shreyas
Right.
Iyer. Shreyas Iyer was out because of an injury. Because of that, we were able to see a couple of more new faces. I think with the era we are in, we would have never seen somebody like Krishnappa Gautam making a debut for India, with already Ravindra Jadeja, Akshar Patel, Krunal Pandya being there. So I
Hmm.
think we have already seen that he is also capable of doing that. And I'm very sure that somebody like Shubman Gill or Prithvi Shaw or maybe Chetan Sakaria, with the kind of background he's coming from, they will make a mark. And not only them, there will be few more players. There will be a little downslide, but there will be up again, because the system overall is really good. If you see the people who are in BCCI, NCA, which is working, be it Rahul Dravid, be it Saurav Ganguly, be it other state associations who are working towards it, be it the whole system. There are so many domestic tournaments which happen every year, be it Ranji Trophy, Deodar, and there's so many, Vijay Hazare Trophy. You have a lot to learn from, and there are so many stars which are actually coming from that. So I am sure people will miss Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, but the replacement have always been there. We are just not seeing them.
Absolutely, considering the talent depth a nation like India has, 1.3 billion people, and everybody wants to, take up a bat. I'm sure even you wanted to be a cricketer at some
Yeah.
point of your life. Absolutely. But sir, the other day I was talking to a friend and he was saying that 2020 Australia tour which we had, and the last test match, literally everybody was injured and nobody had the opportunity of, actually playing. And that time there was T. Natarajan, there was Shardul Thakur, Washington Sundar, all making their debuts. And a lot of people said that probably this is the last time T. Natarajan is wearing a test jersey, considering the kind of, talent we have. So I think it's very important what you said, that probably everybody needs to grab onto that opportunity, because if probably Iyer wasn't injured today, we would have never seen Sky making his debut. We would have never seen somebody like Sky, somebody who's been so prolific in IPL. So thank you so much, sir, and I really hope what you said that actually goes on with the Indian cricket team. Now, sir, we've got, I feel, in my opinion, the most entertaining part of this particular small but crisp conversation. We have a very rapid fire round. I'm very excited for
Oh,
this. So, right. So, ideally, you do not get much time to answer whatever comes up to your mind first. You go about with that. All right. So, can
all
we
right.
start?
Yep.
Right. So, the million-dollar question: who do you think is a better cricketer, Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli?
Better cricketer in terms of batsman or the captain?
In terms of prowess, batting prowess, yeah.
I think Virat Kohli.
Virat Kohli. Okay. So that's a heartbreak for the Rohit Sharma fans. Next is, if one day you wake up as Cristiano Ronaldo, what are you going to do? What is the first thing you're going to do?
I'll probably transfer the net worth he has to my actual account.
But what if you don't know your Vedant Sharma actually? What if only you're Ronaldo?
Probably the best thing is to just go out there and enjoy that fandom. That's
Okay.
about it,
Yeah.
because football is something that I can play every day, and
Yeah.
the fandom is something that I would really want to enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So, your favorite cricket match which you covered as a journalist?
Oh, that's a tough one. Uh, I think it's a choice between two. One, I was in Hyderabad covering 2018 final IPL final between Chennai Super
Okay.
Kings and Mumbai Indians, which
Mhm.
Mumbai won by 1 run. That was one.
Mm.
And second was one of my favorites, England versus New Zealand 2019 World Cup final.
Right. And what about the historic test match at Narendra Modi Stadium? How was it? Was it close to your heart? The one you went to cover, India versus England?
It is, but if you will
Yeah.
ask me my favorite, I think I'll still
Right.
choose
Got it.
2018 IPL final and
2018.
2019 World Cup final.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Who do you feel is India's best test bowler right now?
Oh, India's test spinner or fast bowler?
Can be anything. Can be both as well.
I think currently there is it's it's a little tough, but I will go with Mohammad Shami.
Mohammad Shami. Got it. Okay, the last one is a funny one. But when do you think RCB are going to win their first IPL title?
I think they are very close of
Yeah,
winning this year, being
yeah,
top on the points table right now, and I hope that they stay and end up winning the IPL trophy because they have been waiting for a long, long time. And with AB de Villiers committing that he will be playing for a couple of years more, I would really
yeah.
want that AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli finally have that, and that tag of not winning an IPL trophy actually goes away from their franchise name. So I would really want 2021 to be there. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good sign for a lot of RCB fans. I'm sure the ones who are watching they're going to like it. But with that, we come to an end to episode one. Thank you so much, Vedant sir. It was an absolute honor and pleasure to host you today. And I really hope you liked the episode. But before going, I want you to give any piece of advice to the upcoming sports journalists, the ones who want to make it big in this field. So, any piece of advice, sir, you would like to give them?
Firstly, I would just want to say that it has been a pleasure coming here, and you have absolutely hosted amazingly well. And
Thank you.
glad to
Thank
be
you.
on this side. Talking
Yeah.
about the advice that I would want to give, there is just one thing I would want to say, as I said before as well. If you keep believing in yourself, not just sports, not just this particular field, there is anything and everything you can believe and achieve in your life because dreams are getting fulfilled on earth. There are a lot of people who say that there are Ambanis, there are Tatas, but they are also born on earth. They have also achieved everything while being humans. So we are human, we can achieve anything. There is just one thing that needs to be there, that is proper belief. Don't get influenced with what your friends are doing, don't get influenced with what others are saying. Just believe in your process, everything will happen. Make some small targets, achieve them, and move forward is all I would want to say.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely golden, sir. I feel that I'm going to extract this part of the video whenever I need motivation, whenever I'm a little low on confidence. I am going to listen to this part of the video. And thank
You
you
have the
so
choice
much,
to tell
Vedant,
me as
sir.
well for
Right.
others.
Okay, that's a privilege. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And with that, we come to an episode, we come to an end. So, thank you so much, sir, for coming. And I'm going to link all Sports Tigers handles, Instagram, video, YouTube, and everything in our description box below. And thank you so much, guys. Hope you had fun. Stay tuned to SporTank, and you're going to have a lot more cricketing content, a lot more podcast episodes. Thank you.